What a lack of compassion.
Asao Inoue is a prominent professor of rhetoric. He doesn't want kids graded on English.
We must stop saying that we have to teach this dominant English.
If we do, that's racist, he says.
If you use a single standard to grade your students' languaging, you engage in racism.
People believe him. Education journals publish his ideas. Some schools have dropped grades. I'm skeptical, so I asked Inoue about it. He grew a beard after his speech. If you use a single standard to grade your students' languaging, you engage in racism.
That standardized English tends to exclude many groups of people.
What's going on, everyone? Social King here today. We've been reacting to this Marxist professor. So this Marxist professor you see from the intro, he made this claim that having a single standard is racist, right? And it's this, like, I don't know if this is the CRT place group, whatever, like what they call it, colorblind racism. And the idea that you judge everyone the same can be seen as racist is crazy. That's a narrative. That's rhetoric. That's not objective truth. That's rhetoric. Like, if you want, like, because this is what makes, and this conversation is between a Marxist and a libertarian, and I will give a conservative perspective over this. Is that this is one of the concerns I have as a conservative. A conservative believes that our democracy, right? A conservative democracy is substantiated on loyalty and obligation to what? Your country. It's a form of patriotism. If it's not your country, your community. If it's not your community, your family. All right? And it's all an extension of that. And what benefit, like, what kind of culture are you incentivizing when everyone's judged on different standards? You're essentially creating racism. That's the result. That's not, I don't care about your intentions. I don't care how pure it was. That's what you're doing with this stuff. Oh, I'm black. You trying to judge me on this standard. Oh, you're white. I should judge you on this standard. This is where we get all this double standards, and we see in education, affirmative action, preferential hiring. Like, this is what the cause of that. And this is going to cause what? Division, discontent. A poor white kid is going to come into a university system, and a rich black kid will have even more privilege because he happens to be black. Because there's an assumption that if you're black, you're poor, disadvantaged, no matter your own economic status or where you come from as a family. And I think we need to stop doing this race referencing stuff, because I think this was legitimately divided America. In my view, we should adopt more of what the French are doing. Base you on your nationality. Hey, you're an American or you're not. And I think that's where we should group our society around. If you love this country, you're naturalized in this country, you have a vested interest in this country to making it better. Not trying to divide and conquer people. Oh, you don't want to learn English? Then you don't have to learn English. What? We all have a standard. That's like me saying, hey, we have laws here, but I'm black. I don't want to follow those laws because I don't want to have to follow laws. You see where it's going to be a domino effect. People are going to want to pick and choose what they want to do. And sometimes to me, Marxism just comes across as narcissism, the political version of narcissism. Because you think the world should revolve around you when it doesn't. It's a two-way street. This type of stuff hurts our social cohesion, and we wonder why we're not unified under our country. Why we can't pay attention to what politicians are doing in the office is because we're too worried about fighting and bickering amongst ourselves. Divide and conquer, it's a strategy for a reason.
Because I said he opposed teaching standard English. But he did say this.
We must stop saying that we have to teach this dominant English. What I'm saying is that students should have choices. So is it possible, and does it happen that a student comes in who wants to learn the standardized English in my classes or ones that I would promote? Absolutely. And I wouldn't want to hold that against that student.
So they shouldn't have to learn standardized English.
Right.
Isn't that what helps them succeed?
No.
Every country has a standardized language. If you're in France, you advance yourself by speaking French well.
And there are heated debates in those countries about the use and details of those standards. I'm simply saying that I don't think everyone needs to be held to it.
My parents came here from Germany. They made me learn standardized English. Where would I be if they hadn't?
There are absolutely benefits to a standardized English in the world, but that same world creates those same benefits through certain kinds of biases. Those can be bad.
You know, his ideas are influential. U.S. News credits him for professors ditching traditional grading and choosing labor-based grading instead, where teachers don't grade on spelling or even the quality of work. Grades focus on attendance and getting work in on time.
This bare minimum standard, it's pissing me off, right? The idea that, hey, you don't have to learn English if you don't want to. And I agree with Stossel here. is that my parents were immigrants too. My Haitian immigrant parents came here and they taught me, when I was born, they taught me English first because they didn't want me to have any disadvantage in the country. Chinese people do the same thing with their kids. Asian Americans do the same thing with their kids, to the point that they give them American first names. That's the strategy my mom used with me. She gave me Kenny as my first name. So this idea is, it's almost like a fight against assimilation. And it seemed like only in America people have a problem with American demanding immigrants or people that want to be a part of our culture to assimilate in some way. You have to adapt. When you're in Rome, you do as the Romans do. When you're in America, you do as the Americans do. You come into America, there's a reason why you came to America. So then there's an expectation for you to adopt the culture. It's a two-way street. You can't come here, speak your language or speak the way you want to speak, come into the country, prosper, benefit from all the prosperity and opportunity that America can give you. But when America calls for you to put some skin in the game, aka learn the language, learn the culture, be a part of that culture, contribute to the tax system, all of a sudden it's not compassionate. You see how they emotionally blackmail people into agreeing with their positions? I find it baffling, honestly. Right? And even the intention of, oh, I want the language. For instance, I came from Miami. Hialeah is known to be Spanish speaking only. My argument against this not requiring standardized language is that you set up people who don't learn English properly for failure. You limit economic opportunities for people who do not speak the language of the country. If you go to China, you can't speak Chinese. You think you can get a high-paying job without speaking Mandarin? No, you can't. Not likely. The odds are not in your favor to do that. And it's the same argument I use here for why immigrants should learn English. My mom can move anywhere and she's fine. She has complete mobility in the country. But if you go to Hialeah and all those people who only speak Spanish, they can only work in Hialeah. They can't go anywhere outside of that. They can't even move to another state because they can't follow economic opportunities because they don't know the language of the country. And that's a disadvantage. And I believe these Marxists are setting up people to fail. But hey, I digress. Let's continue the clip and see what the hell this guy's talking about, because I'm about to be turned off by this Marxist guy already. But hey, I digress. Let's continue with the clip.
That, to me, that feels very compassionate.
It's all about compassion, he says. But his speech to professors had a different tone.
White people like you, just like you, who came before you, have had most of the power, decided most of the things, built the steel cage of white language supremacy.
I think you're toning it down for my audience here, because you in your conference speech were all about this is an oppressive country and white racism.
Yeah, that is the largest annual conference of my field. I was the chair of that, and I read that rhetorical situation as a moment to make a statement.
You actively promote white language supremacy, which is the handmaiden to white bias in the world, the kind that kills black men on the streets.
Teaching kids standardized English kills black men?
It can, I think. I think it can. We have Eric Garner saying, I can't breathe, but no one's listening, and he dies. That's the logics that we get.
Logics? Eric Garner died because we reject black language? I don't understand what Inouye is talking about much of the time. If that's how professors speak today, I see why college students are depressed.
And this is one of the reasons why I dropped out of college, honestly, because I went to a political science class and I was having these debate. Teachers was using the wage gap, and I was like, yo, isn't the wage gap debunk? No one in class challenged me. The minute I leave the classroom, and because, you know, in college, you have a group chat, these dudes are making fun of me. They're spamming. I'm like, oh, so when I'm here debating the teacher, you guys had no spine to stand up and actually speak what you believe in. But the minute, you know, but behind my back, y'all talking ish. I went in the lecture. I said, hey, what exactly had a problem with me here? And this is the kind of environment that these teachers facilitate. They just want to destroy all the traditions, all the foundations that led us to this moment because they think they have a better way. But they don't have any solutions. All they care about is this is not it. This is not it. This is not it. And this is what makes me a conservative, because I respect tradition. I respect what the timeline was, lessons and solutions that the people before me came up with. And I evaluate it because end of the day, a conservative don't want to change something if he don't fully understand why it was there in the first place. The tradition of giving your language to the next generation is so that way they can still properly communicate. They have some type of shared unity there. We all speak the same language. That brings some type of camaraderie around. But if you do all this, oh, you speak Ebonics, you speak Japanese, you speak Spanish, you don't have to speak English. There's nothing uniting the different tribes in America. And what's going to happen? You're going to have a war. Because that's dangerous. That's dangerous for different people with different cultures in one country that has no unifying idea. This is why I push patriotism so much. In college, a lot of students are taught to hate America. And this does more destruction than good. It seems their arguments are very emotional based. Like, I want to guilt you into believing what I do, not convince you. And that's the problem I have with a lot of these Marxist professors. But hey, I digress. Let's go into the next part. And this next part is going to talk about how this is similar to Ebonics. Like,
with white language supremacy and what I call habits of white language, or howl.
Years ago, there was a controversy when Oakland promoted Ebonics, saying it's just a different way of talking.
A nationwide debate was ignited when the Oakland, California School Board recognized Ebonics as a language.
I need all of you right now on the count of three to say ask. On three. 1, 2, 3.
Ebonics advocates said teachers like this were wrong to tell kids don't say ax. Black English, they say, should be valued as its own language.
You say she's here, you can say she here.
That's just bad English, isn't it? How can you say that's a language?
No, that's different English.
No,
That's
it's
not
bad English.
That's not, but that's your opinion that it's bad.
It didn't do enough. Everyone says, yes, we believe in that, but they didn't do anything in their classrooms or in their schools or other places.
What you're talking about now really is what the Ebonics advocates were saying.
I think so.
You've won.
I don't know if anyone has won.
I mean, in 2023, I think he has won, because nowadays, Gen Z, even millennials, don't want to be judged by a standard. Oh, I don't want to judge by your standards. I have a different standard. And the standard always seems to be something that's catered to where they're comfortable doing. Oh, I don't want to lose weight so I can fit into an airplane seat. The airplane seats needs to get bigger. I don't need to get smaller, right? They don't want any burden of performance on the individual for some reason. I don't understand why. It's this collectivist thinking, oh, society should change for me, not realizing that you're a part of the society. End of the day, no one's born by themselves. So to act like, oh, everything should be catered around you is asinine. You're born into a family, and that family's in a community, and that community is in a nation or country. Period. You're not born by yourself. You have obligations. You have loyalty. You have ties to your community, and you have to work within that. Now, it's consent. It's a two-way street. Like, you must benefit from the community. If not, you can leave that community and go somewhere else. And I think that's what conservatives are trying to conserve. And that's what we think we should put more in the forefront. To me, Ebonics come across as lazy. I know I'm offending a lot of people for saying that, but it does. No, it shows a lack of discipline. And I think that's what's really killing our country right now. A lack of discipline throughout our entire cultures. And it's not black community, is everybody. Because we let these politicians bribe y'all into staying complacent. Look at what's going on with the debt ceiling stuff. We kept voting as usual. We put real politicians in place. Oh, Joe Biden know what he's doing. He's running our democracy well. Highest inflation in 40 years, but he's running the country well. It's baffling to me. But hey, I digress. Let's get to this next clip, and I think this will wrap it up, and I'll wrap it up with my final thoughts. Let's take a look.
Noy talks a lot about white supremacy and white language supremacy.
White people can perpetuate white supremacy by being present.
Now, what I'm not saying is that white people are bad.
You identify as a Japanese American.
Mm-hmm.
Japanese Americans earn on average much more than the average American.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of white supremacist country lets that happen?
Well, I probably am one of the exceptions.
But you're not. Japanese Americans earn $83,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
The average American, $62,000. It's a big difference.
Japanese American communities, we wanted to be seen as American, more American.
Japanese Americans prospered because of that. So do other immigrant groups. Many now earn more than whites in America. They succeeded by learning standard English because America has been relatively colorblind.
And this has been my biggest argument, is that behavior determines outcomes, not your race, right? My mom did this to us. Like, immigrants, come here. Hey, you're going to learn the language of the country. Boom, I got a big advantage. I learned how to read at 6 years old. Boom, big advantage. Your parents did that. That's the behaviors that my parents instilled in me, and that's what I will do for my kids going forward. And that's a tradition, right? Imagine my grandson now. Like, let's say I have a grandson. and my son is teaching you how to read, and he's like, oh, I don't understand why we need to read. Well, my father did this. My grandma did this to my father, and my father did this to me, so I'm gonna do this to you. That's tradition. That's what conservatives try to conserve, because there was an initial intentions of doing that. It started with my mom, and now it continues with me, and then I pass that down to my son. Hey, you're in this family, we read at 6 years old. That's the standard. And I'm just saying America can essentially do the same thing, because end of the day, what gets neglected gets forgotten. We neglected the fact that, oh, we all should be speaking English. It shouldn't be like, oh, I can't go to this town because all they speak is Spanish. No. You other people like that. If you don't have any shared culture, shared values, shared principles, yo, it's a war waiting to happen in the country. And then this guy, he want to act like, oh, I'm an exception. Oh, I make good money. I'm an exception. No, you're the average Asian in America. Most Asians, 70% of them are married. And like I said, I always bring up this stat. Single mother households have a higher propensity to be in poverty. Who happens to be the richest person in America? Asian Americans. Guess what else they have? Not a coincidence. They have the least number of single mothers in the country, percentage-wise anyway. And black community has the largest percentage of single mothers. So isn't anyone surprised that the black community is poorer than the Asian community? But America's a racist country. This is what Marxists want you to focus on. They want you to focus on all the problems, but they don't want to actually give you any solutions that actually can help your lot in life. Behaviors, not race. That's what determines your outcomes in life. And the fact that he keep using white habits and white language, like, bro, no, they just happen to be the best of the best. Just like black people in the NBA, 74% of the NBA is black. Are you going to say that's because of black habits? You're going to come across as racist if you said that, Marxist professor. No, it's because these players are good at what they do. They just demonstrate good habits. These habits were proven successful, and more people adopt those behaviors if they want to be successful in the NBA. It's not because they're black. This is the argument I always have. You guys want to cry about racial disparities, but then when I point one out that favors black people or minorities, y'all quiet. Oh no, that's because of their skill. That's why they're up in the top position in their field. Okay, why can't we say the same thing about engineering? Why can't we say the same thing about business and entrepreneurship? Who start more businesses? White men. In the country, white men start more businesses. So therefore, will you be surprised that most CEOs are white men? No, you shouldn't be. But feminists will use that as an excuse of, oh, patriarchy. Feminists are like women that they wait for their little brothers and their dad to finish building the treehouse, and then they want to move in and reap the benefits of that treehouse, but they didn't want to contribute to actually building it. That's how feminists come across to me nowadays. But hey, I've been rambling enough with the identity politics stuff. Let me know what you think. Do you agree, disagree with me? I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I really do appreciate you for watching to the end of the video. I know it's been a kind of long one, but appreciate you guys sticking out with me, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.